Dallas Mavericks NBA Finals. Luka Doncic has another playoff game winner under his belt, which is starting to become a usual occurrence. When you're debatably the greatest offensive weapon this game may have ever seen, Rudy Gobert isn't going to stop you. Some say the wrong Frenchman won Defensive Player of the Year. The Minnesota Timberwolves, a menacing force that had all the momentum heading into this series, have lost it all just as fiercely. Their defensive hydra couldn't find any matchup that could stop the Mavericks two-man. The man who was the rightful MVP this season in a lot of people's eyes, myself included, will be reaching the grandest stage of them all in short notice at the ripe age of 25. With another demonstrative effort, he is distinguishing himself as the most unguardable player of the new generation, a title that's passed down to him from Rucker Park legend Kevin Durant. And when he has a clear line of sight to the basket, it's really cones out there because the man gets to his spots and pulls out his limitless arsenal of ways to score the ball. And with a step back to rival prime James Harden, you're at his mercy. And if you dare to double him, which happens a lot, statistically it happens to him more than anyone else in the league, you're flirting with death because the guy opposite him is the 6'2" assassin Kyrie Irving. Alongside Doncic is the veteran guard whose career log already solidifies him as one of the greatest to ever do it. A champion who in many of our minds and hearts is one of the coldest hoopers ever. Still striving as gray hairs furnish his beard, Irving could cap off a magnificent career with another finals run. And the way he's been balling as of late, he sees the sun coming over the horizon. The Dallas Mavericks 1-2 punch have shocked the Minnesota faithful who have watched their team lose 3 straight to take this series away from a realistic comeback. Minnesota have finished short of the mountaintop. This matchup was one everyone was expecting to be an all-time classic, but the Mavericks have uncontestedly gotten the better of the Timberwolves, which isn't surprising considering who's present on this roster. You have the gamesman of all gamesmen in Luka Doncic, a guy who can conduct an offense play by play, all 4 quarters, entirely by himself. The sheer volume at which he operates is incomprehensible. He has been the backbone of this team. In a post-game press conference a while ago, when Doncic scored an absurd 73 points, the Mavericks coach Jason Kidd was asked if Doncic can stray from the game plan when he's on a burner, to which Kidd replied that Luka Doncic is the game plan, which is one of the sickest nicknames a player can don. He is such a powerhouse, people tend to forget how much shuffling it took to construct a roster that could maximize his talent. Listen, it's not hard to win with this guy at the helm. Dallas has reached the conference finals in their last 2 playoff trips, and that's in the cutthroat Western Conference where playoff teams drop like flies. The bedrock of this team shifted with the addition of Kyrie Irving, as now you finally paired the Don with a true superstar castmate. They also have an array of talented players, notably in the front court, who mesh perfectly with their star-studded backcourt. Jason Kidd's coaching follows an all-hands-on-deck philosophy, so the Mavericks roster utilization is 12 deep, with the exception of Dwight Powell, who, for everyone's best interest, does not enter the rotation. Drafting Derek Lively has been a time blessing for Dallas, as he's dominated in the traditional big man department by yimming lobs and crashing the glass. Signing Derek Jones Jr. on a 1-year league minimum deal was an A+ acquisition, as in the playoffs, he's been their best defender, taking on the toughest assignments, and this summer he will most definitely sign a long-term deal. The ball started rolling during the midseason after trading for Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. Gafford brought his presence alongside Lively as another dominant force in the paint, as the Mavericks moved away from 5s who can stretch the floor like Maxi Kleber and Powell to intimidating figures who can get down and dirty. The Mavericks' twin towers have expanded Doncic and Irving's games, as their abilities to dunk the ball from anywhere in the atmosphere gives the ball handlers more room to work with. No room for soft bigs in Dallas. And lastly, PJ Washington, who has been a solid third option despite some inconsistencies. The Mavericks front office has finally realized unleashing 1,000 shot creators alongside Doncic isn't necessary when all you need is another elite scorer and a bunch of guys who will stay in the right spots and play team defense. And team defense means all 5 guys synergistically locking down. So Luka Doncic had to fix his biggest pitfall, and so far he's risen to the challenge. Despite drops in efficiency, his defense has been the best he's ever displayed in his 6-year career. He has legitimately locked down stars in multiple key possessions during this postseason run, and targeting him hasn't gone as effectively as it has in years past. His effort is clearly on display. Let's not undermine Anthony Edwards and his Minnesota Timberwolves ascension. To go from the 8th seed the previous season, being bounced in 5 by the Denver Nuggets, to claiming the 3rd seed this season and exacting revenge. This Minnesota team is a testament to patience. The current product we see is a result of patience after initial setbacks. The roster has stayed the same essentially, with the team finally gelling together. 2 All-Stars, 2 All-Defensive players, and most importantly, the glorious 6th Man of the Year, Naz Reid. Minnesota hangs their hat on the defensive end, and this entire season has been a cinematic showcase of modern switch defense. Battling the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets for the 1 seed, no one could have predicted the current form of the squad, who appear to be contenders for years to come. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be back, and Anthony Edwards can continue the quest of the hero, facing adversity in his budding journey.
I just said we'll be back next year.
Now there are 4, and soon there will be none. Out east, the Boston Celtics have surgically handled business. They've upstaged the inexperienced Indiana Pacers in the closing moments of games 1 and 3 to put the nail in the coffin. The best team in the NBA by far have done what they're supposed to do and look forward to their 2nd NBA Finals appearance in 3 years. Round 3 of the playoffs was a disappointment, with both series never being a contest. Now let's look forward to the next round, which is contrastingly one of the most exciting finals matchups in a long time. With the last NBA Finals being painfully dull and one-sided, all signs indicate the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics should be a far more competitive series. The Don versus the Kobe disciple, the ankle taker versus the $300 million man. Let's all hope this finale isn't another lopsided affair and that this matchup can live up to the billing. To be able to witness 2 of the NBA's premier teams with their shining stars going at it, rather than having to watch the superior Denver Nuggets burying the fodder Miami Heat, is exactly what the league needed. The defensive assignments for the Celtics should be interesting, as Protocol 1 is to stop those 2 demons. I'm certain Drew Holiday will take the challenge of guarding Irving for the majority of the series, but it'll be interesting to see if Joe Mazzulla swaps the deck game to game with the defensive matchups. In terms of guarding Luka Doncic, the Boston Celtics are privileged to have an artillery to choose from. Most likely we'll see the shiny-headed menace Derek White taking on that task. With the way Derek White has been playing on both ends, if, and this is a ginormous if, considering how untouchable Doncic has been, but if White can slow down Doncic, we could see him being awarded the Finals MVP as Andre Iguodala has done in the past. But Boston could always throw one of the Jays at him, as their sizes match well, or they could make a team effort to shut down Doncic and live with Irving beating their best defenders man on man. That would be reminiscent for Boston, as if you remember, that's exactly what the Golden State Warriors did to them 2 years ago, where the Warriors concentrated their efforts on stopping Tatum and living with whatever shots Jaylen Brown made one-on-one. But basketball isn't rigid, it's a fluid game, so every single battle is unique in itself. For the Dallas Mavericks, they are not afforded the luxuries their opposition have, so it'll be Derrick Jones Jr. on Tatum, which should be interesting as he's done a fantastic job on Anthony Edwards. Josh Green is also a reliable defender, so look to see him increase his playing time, and the rest of the effort is gonna come from the unit as a whole, which is what's got them this far anyways, Doncic included. He won't be a helpless target with his improvements on that end this year. He guarded Gilgeous-Alexander quite a lot in their 2nd round matchup, and yes, SGA fried his ass, but there's not much you can do to contain the MVP runner-up. Now the Boston Celtics are still the favorites to win, and if I had to stake on the most probable outcome, I'd say Celtics in 6, but this is the NBA, so anything can happen. If this postseason has demonstrated one thing, it's that the playoffs really come down to who's going to capture those 48 minutes each game. The Celtics are the favorites as they were 2 years ago when they suffered defeat against the Golden State Warriors, who were already familiar with the stage. And this time around, they will yet again face a war-tested Western Conference adversary. The blood that the Dallas Mavericks have already spilled is their biggest advantage versus the Celtics. They face 7 to 9 future Hall of Famers throughout their warpath. This has hardened the battalion as they face a Boston squad who in theory outrank them, but in preparedness they do not. The lines will be determined come Game 1, where we will see if the resilient Dallas Mavericks have what it takes to conquer their mightiest foe, and we will see if the uncrowned princes of the Boston Celtics can at last claim their keep. Thanks for watching.
As I say it all the time, do whatever it takes for us to advance.